In this episode, you will learn how to deal with a situation where personal data is leaked from a company. Iga Małobęcka-Szwast, PhD, attorney at law and associate at Wardyński & Partners New Technologies Practice, advising clients on data protection and new technologies law compliance, and representing them before the Data Protection Authority, will speak about this. Later, we'll hear an update on the Polish economy.
In this episode, I would like to give an overview of how to proceed in the event of a data protection breach, in particular, a leak of data. I will explain whom to notify and when, so that you comply with the GDPR and other regulations. A personal data breach is a broad notion and means any breach of security that leads to the accidental or unlawful destruction of personal data, as well as its loss, alteration, unauthorized disclosure, or to illegitimate access to the data. Data breaches constitute security incidents that are either accidents, such as sending an email to the wrong recipient or losing a device containing customer data, or deliberate acts of third parties, such as phishing or ransomware attacks. All personal data breaches should be notified to the appropriate Data Protection Authority, DPA, except for those unlikely to be a risk to individuals. In Poland, this authority is the President of the Personal Data Protection Office. The notification must be made as soon as possible, but at the latest 72 hours after having learned of the breach. In our practice, we see that it's often not possible to provide all the required information to the DPA by the prescribed deadline. This happens in particular with ransomware attacks, which are becoming increasingly common and whose effects and extent are often difficult to establish quickly. That is why we advise our clients to issue the notification in stages. First, an initial notification should be submitted, and once further information has been collected, a supplementary notification should follow. This allows the deadline to be met while allowing sufficient time to fully investigate the circumstances of the breach. If the company is a data processor for another company, controller, once it becomes aware of a breach, then it must notify the controller without undue delay, or at the latest by the deadline specified in the agreement. This is crucial for enabling the controller to fulfill its notification obligations in good time and avoid liability for breach of contract. Data breaches often have no borders. We often deal with data breaches of a cross-border nature. These create many challenges, not least with regard to notifications. Such a breach should be notified to the lead DPA, namely that of the main establishment or of the single establishment of the controller. This may be the Polish DPA or the DPA of another member state. If it's uncertain which DPA should be notified, then it should be at least the local DPA where the breach occurred. Some data breaches must also be communicated to the affected individuals. This applies to those likely to pose a high risk to the rights and freedoms of the individual, in particular if involving the disclosure of sensitive data. If cross-border processing of personal data is involved, data subjects in different member states may also have to be notified. This should be made without undue delay to ensure that such persons may protect themselves against any negative effects of the breach. In our experience, in deciding the level of any penalty, the Polish authority takes into account the manner and timeliness of the communications sent to data subjects. In some cases, the DPA is not the only authority that will need to be notified. Cybersecurity breaches have an additional notification requirement. It applies to companies that are essential services operators in sectors such as energy, healthcare, banking and finance, transport, or are digital services providers, online search engines, online marketplace, or cloud computing services. Such companies must report a serious or significant incident to the relevant Polish Computer Security Incident Response Team without undue delay, but within 24 hours of learning of the incident. Other notification obligations depend on the particular service provided by the company. For example, payment services providers must additionally report major operational or security incidents to the Polish Financial Supervision Authority or other competent authority. The initial report should be sent within 4 hours from when the major operational or security incident was first detected. If the incident may affect users' financial interest, then the service providers must also notify the users. Furthermore, telecommunication firms must notify, without undue delay, the President of the Office of Electronic Communications of any breach of the security or integrity of their network or services that has significantly affected their operation. In our practice, we help clients find a way through this maze of obligations. As evident from these short deadlines, time is not on your side, and companies must act quickly to avoid fines for breaching these obligations.
Belarusian citizens, after Ukrainians, are currently the second most numerous group of foreigners with work permits in Poland. A spike in migration from Belarus to Poland occurred after August 2020. It was then that Belarus held presidential elections, which many citizens considered to be rigged. People took to the streets in a gesture of defiance. Interestingly, the vanguard of the resistance against the authorities was IT workers. The regime violently suppressed the protests and participants faced repression. At that time, many Belarusian citizens decided to leave the country. This trend was reinforced after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as Belarus was considered a co-aggressor and sanctioned for favoring Russia. For many companies, relocation became a condition for survival in the market. In the IT industry, the exodus has become massive. 15% of IT professionals left Belarus, totaling several thousand people. Most of them have chosen Poland, encouraged by geographical, cultural and linguistic proximity, and the comprehensive program launched by the Polish government to facilitate the rapid relocation of Belarusian IT companies to Poland. Thus, Poland won the race for these talents with Germany and Lithuania. Thank you for watching this episode. See you soon.